second you put your real name out there, you want the world to know how awesome you are when they search for you. So your personal brand starts mattering. And so much of who we are in terms of like getting a job, meeting friends, is based on this picture they get of you when they find you online. So that's part of what has happened in the last year.
Awesome. I'm just going to throw, I know we're all aware of how social media has sort of exploded over the past couple of years, but I'm just going to throw out a couple statistics here. Facebook currently has 800 million active users. Twitter has 200 million registered users, and YouTube, the site shares 300 billion videos each day. With that said, I'm wondering if you could maybe just talk about Klout specifically, and what are the metrics that you're using for determining someone's influence?
Right. So at Klout, we believe every person that creates content has influence. What we're trying to understand is who they influence. So for example, like my mom, she's on Facebook really only to keep track of my sister and I. Not trying to influence anyone in particular, but she does influence us, and that's important. And then what topics people are influential about. So I'm not influential at all on fashion or things like that, but maybe on video games or entrepreneurship or things like that, I might be. So what we're looking at is across those billion people creating content on the social web, what's the impact of each of their messages? When I talk about, we're in a movie theater, so what movie I saw last week, how many of my friends are likely to go see that? If you talk about the volunteering you're doing at 826, how many people are going to go follow you and go do that activity? So we're looking at the reach you have, how many people actually pay attention to you, but more importantly, how they react to the content you create. And are they, whether it's clicking links or liking or retweeting or reblogging or all these different things, but they're engaging with your message. And then how influential are those people? So the more influential the people are interacting with you, the further your content travels.
So at this point, within the context of how Klout is sort of operating, you keep, it seems like every week I read that you're adding a new sort of network into the mix. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that, but then also, are those all weighed the same, or how does the score sort of, with me versus someone else, if I'm, like you said, if I'm using Facebook more than Twitter, et cetera?
Yeah. So I started Klout in my bedroom in New York, like a little over 3 years ago. And it was actually originally just Facebook. And then that was too hard. So I switched to Twitter. And then about a year and a half later, we added Facebook back. And since then, it is almost every week we're adding a new network. And kind of circling back to our goal of believing every person that creates content has influence, we want to find that influence wherever it might exist. And a lot of times it's not Twitter or Facebook. It's, you write Yelp reviews, or you're a programmer and you're on Stack Overflow, or you're on the comments of a blog. There's infinite sources, and we're definitely aspirational in our goal of understanding all of them. But we're neutral in the sense that we don't weigh like, you have to be creating content on Facebook or Twitter versus anywhere else. It all kind of circles back to the reach you have, the engagement you're driving, and then how influential those people are, regardless of where those activities occur.
Cool. You had sort of, when we initially talked, you talked about this idea of the attention economy a little bit. Obviously with everything, all the information that's out there right now, there's a lot of noise that's being generated. How do you see this sort of role of influence and Klout score specifically sort of fitting into that equation and helping filter through that noise a little bit?
Yeah, I think this idea of the attention economy where you have, we talked about identity and personal brand, like that's a component of it. And then you have these tools like Twitter, where people are just creating so much content. And I think a couple weeks ago, Mark Zuckerberg talked about just the explosion of quadrupling every year, the amount of activity happening on these networks and sharing. We're all overwhelmed, and the messages from our friends, from brands, from everyone coming at us. And I know, like, personally, you know, I'm looking at whether it's Facebook or Twitter or whatever stream you're looking at, there's all these faces and all this content, and there's certain people, like, I'm connected to just out of, like, I don't know, social obligation. And there's other people where everything they say, like, I'm gonna pay attention to. I scan that list and look for their face, and if there's a link, I'm clicking it, and if there's something they say, like, it's gonna have an impact on me. That's what I think of, like, the attention economy. And you know, from a brand's perspective, they're trying to understand who has the ability to broker the time of their network. Because we don't care about display ads or you know, all the other you know, word of mouth is the only really effective form of advertising. So the ability to broker the time of your network is critical. And in an attention economy, I think of influence as the currency of who influences you on what topic. And you know, we try to think of Klout as the social credit score in that world.
Awesome. So I'm wondering, I guess maybe we can start first and foremost here a little bit. You talked about how attempting to quantify an individual is, you know, has met with some
Rage.
Yes.
I think rage is the word.
I guess there's a couple things going on there. I mean, number one, you know, people are putting out all of this personal information about themselves in some way. So there's a sort of transaction that's taking place, and there's information that's being collected about them. So I guess number one, that, and then also just, you know, why am I less influential than, you know, the next person, so
right.
to speak?
The idea of what we're doing, like when I step back and look at it, like, you know, a delusional entrepreneur, the idea is kind of crazy. Like, influence is an emotion not that different than love or jealousy or anything else we all see through our own lens. And we came and planted a flag in it and said it's Klout, and we're gonna measure it, and here's the data to back it up. When you do that, and like, that's definitely a lightning rod, way more than I would have guessed. And it's different than, like, when I do a search on Google and the result I want comes in third or fourth. Like, I don't get personally offended or pissed off. But when people come to Klout and they do a search and, like, something doesn't look right in the data and it's a number next to their face, like, they're gonna get upset. And we definitely know that. You know, we're, you know, but looking at it, we're really early in this journey. And I think of Google and, like, doing a web search in 1999, the results were certainly better than anything else out there, but they've had to go on this journey over the last, you know, 10 plus years to be what they are now. And, like, we still have that same kind of process. But we're looking at all data that people are creating publicly on mostly social networks, and we're trying to understand what the impact of that is. And I totally get why that can turn people off, because it can be a very elitist thing, but that's not the way we think of it. I think of it from the standpoint that, like, we're segmented every single day. Pretty much every company you deal with segments you basically based on how much money you have. And if you go out on a Friday night and you try to go to some place, you're gonna get segmented by how good looking you are, whether you're waiting in line or not. Like, this stuff just happens, and it's part of the world. I love that in Klout and in social media, anybody with access to a mobile device can create content and impact the people that trust them the most and spread their message to the world. Like, that's what we're inspired about, but there's a lot of things around the edges that I understand can piss people off.
You know, maybe I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but you know, I'm sort of curious. Obviously, you know, we see this a little bit with Facebook and how they've redesigned the whole news feed, and then maybe with Twitter in the sense of these promoted tweets, etc. I mean, do you see at some point in time, you know, obviously right now it's somewhat chronological, but there being a a shift where, you know, if I'm more influential, that I sort of go to the top of the heap somewhat, or is
Like in Twitter or on Facebook?
in Twitter or on Facebook.
I mean, we definitely see Klout score used for filtering. I know like Hootsuite is a popular Twitter client, and you could filter, you can do a search and filter by, you know, I only want to see Klout scores of above 40. And because we do this by topic, like maybe it's good if I, you know, randomly made a joke about something that I'm not influential about, that should be filtered out for somebody looking for real information. So I think the discovery and filtering aspects, again, in an attention economy is really valuable, and why you know, creating quality content is important for individuals.
I'm curious, you mentioned obviously how this sort of word of mouth has shifted with, or it's become amplified with access to all of these networks now. I'm wondering, from a sort of brand perspective, how does that sort of change the way that they think about marketing to individuals and who they reach out to, et cetera?
Yeah, it's been interesting. You know, over the last few years, as we've been building Klout, brands coming to us, and it really started out with them calling us and saying, "Hey, can you give us the list of who's influential about mobile phones or luxury cars or whatever it was?" Because the really forward-leaning brands understood that for the first time, word of mouth was scalable, and social media was making that possible, and these connections and conversations we have with our friends are so much more powerful than, you know, most forms of advertising or any form of advertising they use. So I think it's cool to me. So we have this program called Klout Perks. Brands come, they pay money to have us connect them with people that are influential about certain topics. But when we do that, we have this code of ethics that you're giving this influencer an experience. So an example is Nike was launching some running shoes. We gave them before they launched to people influential about running. We've also done it with like charities and other causes, but in our code of ethics, we tell the influencers they can say whatever they want. You can say you love this product, you can say you hate it, you can say nothing. And seeing brands get used to that loss of control of the message has been really interesting. And some flail and some run away, but like, you know, we see like Nike and Disney and Sony and HP, like Starbucks, these guys really investing in that and believing in the influence of the individual.
Well, yeah, it's interesting. I mean, even with, I can't say I'm a fan of their pizza, but I've definitely taken notice of the way that Domino's is sort of, you know, given themselves over to their customers and have become very honest in their approach about, you know, here's this thing that we're creating, and you obviously have an opinion about it, so why don't you share it? And then,
yeah.
You know, we can use that as a learning exercise in order to, you know, either improve what we're doing or what have you.
Yeah, I think the value of conversation and the impact of each individual is definitely being noticed by the more, again, forward-leaning brands.
Well, it's interesting. Until you said that, I thought of it as, you know, purely as a marketing exercise. But, you know, clearly in this instance, you know, if someone is really invested in running, then their opinion is just as valuable, even not from a sales perspective, but just in that sense of being able to sort of return valuable information about, you know, how do we make this product better, how do we improve as a business, et cetera.
Right. So for the first time, being able to identify the most passionate people that have built the most trust and authority on a broad network through the social web is incredibly exciting for brands, for causes, for whatever it might be.
I'm wondering, maybe just to you know, drill down a little bit more into the whole sort of brand piece. You know, what are some of the learnings thus far with some of these integrations? Like what's worked, what hasn't worked, et cetera?
We've done probably 100 of these campaigns, and have learned a lot for sure. One is when you're dealing with people, like this idea of advertising through people and letting people tell the story is not in any way the same as like putting ads on pages, and you're dealing with people. It's just, you have to give them something special. You have to listen to them. You have to pay attention. And the campaigns we've done where the brand has accepted that and really kind of believed that have gone really well. So an example is we did something with Turner they launched this show called Falling Skies. We had like a few hundred influencers that got to see it before everybody else. And they would talk about the episodes, and they would have like producers get on and engage with these people. And it just drove like this really rich, super passionate fandom around this show. We've had other brands who do it and think like, okay, I'm just going to throw money at influencers the same way I do at everything else, and then it's going to take care of itself, and it's a magic bullet. And then the influencers get mad when they like try to tell them feedback, and it kind of nothing happens. So that was kind of the first learning. The other thing we've just learned is, giving influencers a reason to talk. These are the most passionate people who love creating content. If you give them something special to talk about, like, they're generally going to do it.
Awesome. We have time for maybe 2 more questions. So maybe since, as we sort of look at where we are now and where this online influence is heading, what do you see as the sort of big shifts or the big opportunities that are, taking place within that whole idea?
I think the mega trend I think about is more and more people creating more content, more data that's becoming more acceptable or more accessible. So I think of a world where our social capital and, in my dream, measured by Klout, is like part of everything we do where, you swipe your credit card and your Klout score shows up on the register, and they give you a coupon to give to your friends because they know you're influential about gardening, and you obviously have friends who would probably be interested in knowing about this great news store. Or things like that I think are really exciting. I think the power of having a network that you can activate, whether you're a journalist who, when you're looking for your next opportunity and they know you bring an audience with you that's like super engaged with everything you do, or you're a marketer or a salesperson or whatever it is. I just think the importance of this and the quality of measurement and quantity of data are all going to grow exponentially.
And if we're indeed sort of heading into that future, I know that myself as someone who last checked had a 19 or 20 Klout score.
We still like you.
I shouldn't be saying that, but for myself and everyone out in the audience, are there any ways that, or advice that you can give if someone wants to get into the upper echelon of Klout scores at the moment?
So like the problem I always have when my score starts tanking is because the consistency. It's I get really busy, or traveling, or we're launching some new product, and 10 days go by and I haven't created any content anywhere. And it's kind of like when you don't come to work for a week and you have to you come back and have to remind everyone that you're there and you're a valuable part of the team and important. If people forget about you, especially we're in this attention economy again with overwhelming information. If it's really easy to be forgotten. So it's consistently creating content but not being noisy is the challenge. So getting it as part of your schedule to regularly post something every day if possible. And then getting over that hump, and I'm guessing a lot of the people here don't have this problem, but I know people I talk to say well, I don't know what to say. I don't know, nobody's interested in what I have to say. And again, I always just think of my mom who I care what she says. I know a lot of, I know she's not, she's pretty low key, not super interesting, but I care. And, as you get more comfortable with kind of saying what you're thinking about, what you're experiencing, and remembering how amazing it is that the people who trust you the most, you can tell them your opinion on anything in the world like instantly from your phone. Like that's a powerful thing, and learning that to not be so self-conscious about it.
Joe, thanks very much, and look forward to seeing how Klout continues to grow.
Great, thank you
Thanks.
very much.